Hi everyone, welcome back to GoLocal Live. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for tuning in this Wednesday afternoon. It's been a full one. From Speaker of the House Nicholas Mattiello to Dr. Carly Goldstein from the Warren Alpert Medical School at Brown. We now turn to a familiar face. Lieutenant Governor Dan McKee, thank you for coming into studio today.
Thanks for the invitation.
Well, glad that we have you in because just about an hour ago, the Lieutenant Governor's office released a position that you're taking to make sure that electric ratepayers aren't overpaying. So walk us through the nuts and bolts of this approach and how you think it can be successful.
Yeah, so we just had legislation passed, sponsored by Rep. Kennedy and Senator Seveny, and we had them to a meeting in our office just a little while ago to tell everybody of all the exciting news, right, with Kevin Lynch and Tom Kogut from the Department of Public Utilities, the DPUC. So the whole idea is that people can shop their electricity. We want to make sure they shop it safely. We've been here talking about Empower Rhode Island.
Yep.
Go to Empower Rhode Island so you can shop electricity. But now we've passed legislation that once contracts end, that you immediately, the company immediately has to, that you're doing business with, immediately has to send you back to the national grid.
Okay.
So what's happened over the last 5 years, from 2013 to 2017, we talked about that, ratepayers have paid about $28 million more than they should have because they didn't realize that they needed to cancel their agreement. Right now, they no longer have to cancel that agreement. The agreement will be canceled for them automatically so that when the contract ends, they won't be put into a higher rate. Senator Seveny talked about how he went from a low rate of like 7 or 8 cents to 15 or 17 cents.
Was that sort of probably like fine print? I mean, are there predatory? I mean, is it just?
It's the way it's structured right now is that it was an opt-out of a contract. So the customer, the ratepayer, needed to notify the company, which was made difficult because they had to call them. Now they'll be able to cancel their agreements online if in fact they need to, and now the company no longer can just roll you into a higher rate. It'll be against the rules, and for them to do business in the state of Rhode Island, they can't do that. It's going to save the customers millions of dollars a year, so we're pretty excited about the fact that we're able to do that. We're going to have one more piece to it next year. Hopefully work with the Attorney General's office to make sure that door-to-door sales, direct marketing is managed and regulated in a way that currently we should all be aware of. I would just say on that one issue, Kate, that if you happen, this rule only applies to contracts that are going to be signed after August 1st.
Okay.
So if you've signed a contract that's expired and you're paying more than 9.24 cents right now on your standard offer, which is posted right on your bill, you need to call that company up that you're doing business with, cancel their agreement with them, get sent back to the national grid, then you can shop after August 1st safely.
Okay, I wanted
Yes.
to let viewers know a little bit more about this. We'll provide more information as well. And as we have you in studio, obviously one of the big items in the last few weeks has been the state of Providence Schools, and now the Rhode Island Department of Education, as of last night, officially giving the go-ahead for the state to come in and take them over. Someone who knows a lot about education, someone who brought in an education alternative to Cumberland as mayor. It's a fairly area of focus and expertise of yours. So let's take a little step back and talk about when you first saw the John Hopkins report, knowing very well of obviously what's taking place here in Providence. Let's talk about your reaction and then your take on how the state's proceeding.
Well, my reaction to the reactions was pretty negative in terms of people saying there's a wake-up call. We've had wake-up calls with the Rye-Kess stores in 2018. 2013, we learned that the Hispanic community in the state of Rhode Island is the lowest performing student base in the entire country. So what we keep on hearing from our leaders is, it's a wake-up call, it's a kick in the gut. We didn't realize it was that bad. So I think that one of the things that hopefully we're highlighting right now is that, look, we've known for a long time that we're having trouble competing in our schools, educating our kids to the level that they need to be educated at so that they can survive in the economy that that we're working on. And so my reaction was I'm just pretty much tired with the with the fake hustle that's gone on over the last few years, right? And then a lot of the recognition, either the facility condition as a former mayor. I did a lot as a mayor to make sure our schools were in shape. I toured the schools. We were in a fiscal problem when I became mayor in 2000, yet we put additions on. We got kids off the stage, out of the closets, into our middle school, fixed roofs, repaired an entire high school campus. So it just flabbergasts me that somehow that schools are not being given the attention they need on the condition of the schools. I just don't want that to outweigh what we know about in the classrooms, right? And I had something to do with a school opening up in Providence called Achievement First Mayoral Academy. Same kids that are coming from all the communities that are, proficiencies, 8, 10, 12% proficiencies. In the last testing, they were tested out as the top elementary school in the state of Rhode Island. So we know that the kids from Providence can learn at higher levels, and it's up to the leaders to figure out how they're going to do that. And we need to put pressure on to make sure that it's not, we're not back here in a few years saying that, oh my God, we have made no progress.
So there's always been the push and pull with public charter schools and mayoral academies as well. And there's always been a discussion that why can't educators, why can't school administrators come together and learn best practices from each? So is there some lessons to be learned from Achievement First that could be applied to public schools, or is it just too much apples and oranges with constraints that are on the public schools to not enable them to do what's currently taking place?
So I think your point is
most of the high achieving the charter schools, because we've seen there's been a gamut of results from public charter schools. Achievement First has been amongst the highest. So if it's not Achievement First whole-handedly coming in and taking over the state, again, how can schools learn from that successful model?
And that was not our intention with the mayoral academies to have charter schools or mayoral academies all over the state of Rhode Island. I only can say what happened in Cumberland. We had 2 failed elementary schools when I started this process. We had a middle school that was absolutely on the verge of failure, and a high school in total disrepair. And yet, I did 3 things. One, I opened up a mayor's office of education, where we're working with young kids year-round, setting an example that education is important in the community. We put a declaration of education in our town. I think every community should have one, and the state of Rhode Island should have one. And then we did put competition in with the mayoral academy. I can just tell you that our school system in Cumberland has had significant progress, and you can just look at the data. So, and then also there's examples. So I don't think that you can just say, oh, we need to kind of magic wand. You can put these type of programs in that are maybe some more successful schools. But there are examples of takeovers, state takeovers, interventions in Massachusetts that has significantly increased and closed the gap, the learning gaps that exist in some of the communities, as Providence has right now. So I think that it depends on how much empowerment this commissioner receives. And we don't know that, right? We don't know. There's not a plan on the table right now. It's going to be very disruptive for the Providence schools to wait 90 days to actually implement something. What does that beginning of the school year look like, Kate? How much learning is going to happen with not knowing? I mean, hopefully there's going to be real strong intervention there, creating models that currently exist that have helped transform, traditional district schools. There's evidence out there that you can do that.
So should Rhode Island be looking at, as you said, those successful models in Massachusetts?
Yeah,
because as GoLocal reported, when the state took over Central Falls, it still is the worst performing school district in the state. So I don't think necessarily folks would say that the state should look at the Central Falls model. Should they be looking outside the box?
No, in Central Falls, I'm on the record saying it's time for the state to get the heck out of Central Falls, create a model there that's supposed to academically successful and fiscally responsible. You're absolutely right. And then here's the danger, right? Because this is the wake-up call thing. This is we're going to really get down to business now type of a conversation. If you don't empower this commissioner with very strong abilities to do things, and all you can do is the model in Central Falls, you're not going to really make too much progress. So yeah.
So what types of powers should she be encumbered with?
Well, they need to make sure that they have the authorities, like in Massachusetts, Lowell, Massachusetts. They've been able to work inside union contracts, but they've been able to revise some of those contracts in terms of the way that the learning day goes, in terms of who's empowered, the teachers that are hired in particular schools. It gives the school principals more authority to choose their staff in a way that still is fair to the people who have jobs. So but if all you're going to do is walk in, change the leadership, and yet the nuts and bolts of the operation don't change, you can't expect much improvement. So that's why I'm hopeful that we'll see an example in Providence that could be transferred into a community like Center Falls. But the thing that I also want to make sure that people realize is that just like in Cumberland, we had failed schools in the town of Cumberland. We have leaders that I think need to be a lot more honest with the families that are sending their kids to the schools. We have leaders like in Providence who says, look at we got a C-level school when they got an F. We got leaders that are saying they got A's when they got C's. So we really need to really be honest with the families. I think that we should do something, and I'm writing something right now to lay out an argument that says that every school in the state should be required to give the parents their report card in a way that is notarized, so that every parent has received it, they sign it off, and they know the proficiency rates in their schools of their reading, their math, the condition of their schools, the teacher attendance, the student attendance, so that they all know. So if a parent is sitting there and they sign off and they say, oh, 88% of our kids are not proficient in reading, that's going to, and you do that in a meeting with 100 people or more there, that reaction is going to be far different than telling a parent, oh, you can find out what your scores are if you go onto the RIDE website.
So to be a little more proactive in providing
proactive, and I would say that if parents who are unable to make it, they should be notified through some sort of a mechanism that they can detail that the schools can actually say, we've had 100% of our families informed by this process, instead of just saying, oh, go take a look at it. I think that what happened in our town, some people liked what I did, some people didn't like what I did, but they all were aware of what I did. And that activated a parent group and a move in our town that was significantly stronger than in the past. And then it also puts the monkey on the back a little bit with the parent, right? So if you've got a kid attending a real bad school, maybe you need some training in terms of how to proceed as well. And you might, and once you know, you might want to welcome that type of training, right?
So let's move on from education, as we had talked about, again, that announcement from your office pertaining to protecting consumers with utilities. It's July 2019. What can we expect from the Lieutenant Governor's office in the coming weeks and months as we look to the second half of the year?
Well, we're going to continue to be working with the small businesses. Right now we're on one of our 39 tours, because the theme of our office is number 39. Right, because there's 39 cities and towns in the state of Rhode Island. We always say everyone's important, and the communities that make up those communities are important. So right now we're finishing a tour on our used auto sales. Okay. So I think what you're going to see is an effort to try to help that business community, which employs a lot of people, pays a lot of sales tax. And we're going to continue to work with our small businesses. We're also implementing, we were fortunate to get the 5-year Alzheimer's passed this year, which the plan that a state plan that our office worked with the Rhode Island Alzheimer's Association on. We're hopefully going to raise some outside money shortly. We make an announcement. I think that we're going to be able to help facilitate that plan until the state kind of catches up like other states have, where they kind of incorporate that into their health department. And then we're going to continue to work on veterans issues, and so there's plenty to do. There's plenty to do. One of the interesting things we've been doing on the economic, we're going to create this economic ambassador program out of our office. Okay. And that economic ambassador program is going to identify people who live in Rhode Island, love Rhode Island, are residents of Rhode Island, yet they still have networks outside Rhode Island in other countries. So we're in the middle of our pilot program right now with a recent trip that we had with 2 business people from Pawtucket area that we went to China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan with. We're actually expecting visitors from those countries into Rhode Island over the next 2 months. And we're planning that so that we hopefully can bring in business opportunities that can come into our state, and also where we have current businesses that might be able to profit from partnerships that way.
Who's going to take advantage of this? Is it going to be up to the individual to contact, and are
so
you going to review, sort of like you will choose who these ambassadors might be?
We've been talking a little bit about it informally, but we're several meetings into the strategy. And we just had the ambassador from Mexico in our office, the consulate. We've had multiple meetings with different countries, but we're identifying that the thing that's really kind of neat about this one is that we're identifying people in Rhode Island that have networks.
Your office is looking at.
That's correct.
Reaching out, saying, I know this person could potentially be.
And they may contact us, and we'll have a group that will kind of screen them in a way to make sure that we're being represented in a way, and they're happy, and the people are happy with what we're trying to do. But when they travel, we're going to try to credential them and to say, hey, go see these people, tell them about Rhode Island. Because the people who are going to visit us from both Taiwan and China and Hong Kong over the next few months, they don't know about Rhode Island. And when they see the opportunity of what Rhode Island means, with the ocean and the airport and the universities and the other opportunities, they're gonna really take kindly to this, because they know about Boston, they know about New York, but they don't know about Rhode Island, which makes sense because a lot of these people are thousands of miles away. They've never been here. So we're going to identify people that want to be like ambassadors, and we're going to give them the opportunity to talk about Rhode Island on their trips, and then give them handoffs to people that might be able to connect economic opportunities for the people who live in the state of Rhode Island.
Okay, we'll continue to look for more from your office
Yeah,
on this.
that's going to be we're very excited about that. We think that that's going to really work really well.
Well, I appreciate your taking the time to come into the studio, talk all things politics, education, business, and more.
Yes.
I think we've hit a lot of bases.
We did hit a lot of bases. So there's a lot to talk about, isn't there, right now?
Certainly here
Yes.
in the state of Rhode Island. So I
Yes.
appreciate your coming in, Lieutenant Governor
Okay.
Dan McKee.
Okay.
Appreciate your watching here on Live. We'll be back with more tomorrow here in studio in downtown Providence. So we look forward to seeing everyone. But of course, check us out on GoLocal Prov and find us on Facebook throughout the evening and the morning. And we'll see you tomorrow. I'm
Yes.
GoLocal News Editor
Great.
Kate Nagel.
Thanks.